and talking. Okay, here we are. Now we are recording, everybody. Hello, welcome to the first ever Social Media Educonnectors panel. In case we have not met yet, my name is Natalie Priester. I'm an English language learner teacher in Riverside County, California. I'm also the co-founder of Teacher Mama Collective, but you're totally not here to see me. You're here to hear from our panel of awesome social media leaders. Before we get started, I want to explain why we're having this panel. So I've been around EdTech and education for quite a while, and I know many of us love tools like Twitter, blogs, and Voxer. I totally get it. I'm one of those EdTech people, and I jumped all in on that when I went to my first EdTech conference about 10 years ago. By the way, for any of you who are not new to Q, especially you people from out of state, I want to kind of give you a little bit of an understanding of what Q is because they are hosting this. Go check Q out after this session. It is q.org to get there, and Q hosts EdTech conferences and professional development in California and Nevada. The conferences are filled with innovative educators, and the content's really great, but seriously, my favorite part is all of the people I get to see and hang out with at the conferences. So go to q.org for more info. Back to our panel. We're here because there are so many teachers using social media, and that number has grown and grown and grown since those pre-Chromebook days back when I was first getting started on Twitter a long time ago. But it's not just the numbers that are changing. It's not just there's more and more teachers on those platforms. The platforms have actually changed over time too. Now, I'm thinking some of you are here because you probably already are in the social media circles where a lot of our panelists are. But in case you are not, in case you don't follow bloggers, you don't watch teachers on YouTube, or you don't use the hashtag teachers of Instagram, you probably still know that there's a lot of teachers on those platforms and a lot of American educators are looking there. I brought this panel together because I want to help more teachers in the world of education come in to all of the learning that's taking place on Instagram and YouTube. So I want to help people the way that Q leaders helped me about a decade ago when they first got me started on Twitter. Here's the way our session's going to work. First, I'm going to introduce everyone. By the way, I have put a link in the chat, and hopefully somebody else can drop it there again, that has a link to our resources page. On that page is everyone's profile. I recommend you go click and follow everybody now and check them out because you might meet somebody new. And then secondly, we're going to answer questions that I have prepared in advance. Lastly, we will open it up to your questions. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. And we have a moderator, Nashantha, who's going to drop those in so that at the end, I can go in and pull out your questions. So throw them in there. Okay, first, I'm gonna go hit a mute, do a little housekeeping real quick. Mute. Okay. Yeah, everybody's muting. You guys got it. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and get everybody linked in. My crew, can you guys start unmuting yourselves, please? Down my thing.
You're supposed to mute.
I was never muted.
Oh, you guys can do it. Okay, you're all ready to go. Everybody's like, why am I just looking at this lady? Where's my favorite like social media person? Okay, here we go. Here come all the people that you came here to watch. By the way, I have to totally like say this because it is outstanding. Collectively, this group has definitely more than 10 million, not joking, 10 million views on YouTube and Instagram. We can't get all the Instagram numbers for sure, but it's probably even higher than that. So this is our rock star team. First up is... There's an alphabetical order to be fair, everyone. First up is Darren Nakakihara. He is a middle school technology teacher who has previously taught 4th and 5th grade and previously been an educational technology TOSA. My tech friends, he is one of us. He has a master's degree in educational technology. In the chat, anybody else who has anything, you can give like a thumbs up or a star if it applies to you too. Hold on, I'm pausing. Get your mutes. Okay, thanks for muting. Okay, he is a Google certified innovator from Sweden, 17 cohort. He's a Microsoft innovative education expert. He is a speaker about all kinds of techie things at the Microsoft E2 conference in Budapest, ISTQ, Google Summit Las Vegas. He's been a local keynote, lots of things. He's gotten awards, Orange County Q Outstanding Educator. Irvine, USD Teacher Promise, Impact Driven Teacher Conference Digital Educator Award. He posted his first YouTube video in 2008. He's posted 375 videos and has had over 1 million views since then. So Darin, say hello.
Hello there, everybody. So happy to see everybody's little squares.
Next up is, and remember, please mute, if you are just joining us, please mute your mic so you can amplify our voices. Thank you. And the chat is running. Next up is Latonya. Latonya Robinson. You probably know her as Smarty Style. Latonya is in her 15th year of teaching. She's taught at both elementary and middle school level. She earned the Outstanding Ethnographer Award at Claremont Graduate University. She has served in multiple teaching roles within her district, multiple leadership roles within her district. She has served as the school site union representative, district union negotiator. She's the founding member of the African American Parent and Educator Advisory Committee. She documented her first full contracted year of teaching on YouTube. Since then, her videos have been viewed 1.6 million times. She's been featured in Scholastic Teaching Magazine for Classroom Environment and Organization. She has effectively found a way to integrate TikTok into the classroom. Wink, wink. I'm not sure about the wink, wink. I'm not very TikTok-y, but we'll go with it. She's known to share a couple of style ideas here and there, and she's been featured in the California Educator magazine for teacher fashion, along with Megan. Latonya, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
Next up is Megan, who you may know as Too Cool for Middle School. Megan is a middle school history and English teacher. She's been doing that for 8 years. In the last 6 years, she's created more than 400 videos on her YouTube channel, Too Cool for Middle School, and she has more than 40,000 subscribers. She's the co-author of the chapter Amplifying Teacher Voices Through Instagram Subversive Teaching Meets the 21st Century in the new ELA pedagogy text Acts of Resistance. She's a researcher and speaker on Caribbean history, restorative practices, and teaching controversy in the classroom. She's the founder of the Brave Teaching Conference along with Latonya, and she reads lots of books. Megan, you want to say hello?
Hi, everybody. It's so exciting to be here.
Thanks everybody for muting your mics. Did you have something else?
Oh, I just wasn't sure if it worked.
You're in. Next up is Malloy. You may know her as Lessons with Laughter on Instagram. Molly is a 5th grade teacher. She's been teaching in the intermediate grades for 10 years. She's been featured on BuzzFeed News and in Scholastic Teacher Magazine. She has 57,000 followers on Instagram at Lessons with Laughter, where she's been sharing teaching ideas since 2013. She's also been a speaker in some of our ed techy little circuits, such as Fall Q, San Diego Q, SDSU education classes, and USD Character Matters Conference. Molly, you want to pop in and say hello?
Hi, everyone. So glad you're here.
Next up is Vanessa, also known as My Second Grade Life. Vanessa is an elementary teacher. She's been doing that for 6 years, mostly in 2nd grade. She's also been featured in California Educator magazine. She started her Instagram in 2016 and now has almost 20K followers. She began YouTube in 2017 and now has just over 30K followers with almost 3.5 million views. You want to say hi, Vanessa?
Hello.
Vanessa also has a baby on the way, which is the most exciting thing for me with all of this. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. Thank you for muting your mics, and you can put comments in the chat, and you can drop questions in the chat.
You gotten a lot of voicemails?
I'm gonna get a lot of
Park.
stupid earbud.
No, some.
Got it. By the way, everybody who's watching, I have the ability to mute, but I'm also talking to you. So that's why we're going back and forth. And I'm asking you to thanks for reminding everybody for muting their mics. Okay, first question up, panel. How has social media changed how you teach? Who wants to go first? Jump in.
Who's going first?
You go for it.
Vanessa, what do you think?
Darren.
I honestly think that it's made me such a better teacher. I think about my first 2 years teaching and never having social media or even knowing anything about social media and how different of a teacher I was back then, just because I wasn't seeing all these new ideas and seeing different things being posted all the time.
And I think with Instagram and YouTube, it's cool to be able to see all this stuff. It's not just like Twitter where you're reading something, but I can actually go and see it. And I don't necessarily have to go searching for something. It might just pop up. Like if I have to go to Google and like type in, oh, I want a science activity, versus on Instagram, I'm just scrolling and I see something cool and I save it so I can use it for later.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on what Vanessa said too. It's just been like daily professional development. Every time we're on there, there's like new ideas, new teaching strategies, new resources, books, you name it. And it's so easy to just take what you learn or what you see on Instagram and turn around and use it in your classroom the next day. Or if you see it that morning, hey, I'm gonna adapt my lesson today and use this new strategy that I just saw, Vanessa or whoever posting about. And so I think just the professional development, that like ease of that on Instagram has been incredible.
I'll go ahead and jump in. I am undoubtedly a better educator because of Instagram and because of the people I follow. I'm challenged constantly in my pedagogy, in my just perspective towards education, and in the things that I've kind of always accepted as necessary in a classroom or necessary for discipline. My ideas and my assumptions are constantly being challenged. And I'm going to bring this up over and over again today, but Instagram is a much more diverse platform than almost every other teaching platform out there. And so this is why it's so powerful and we're getting so many different perspectives.
And I think it prevents you from getting like stuck in your rut. So because you've taught something for so long and you're comfortable with it, it's kind of hard to just continuously do the same thing in the same way when you're constantly just shown like different avenues to teach the same thing, different resources. So I think it just really helps to keep everybody on their toes or inspires them in some kind of way as well.
Yeah, like for me, I started my channel just to reflect on my teaching practice. So there's no better way for you to see what kind of teacher you are than to videotape yourself doing it. And in addition to that, like it has made me, this thing has definitely filled my bucket. I have some of my best friends from social media. My best teacher friends come from social media. So love you guys.
Oh.
It's especially great right now when everybody needs a little bit of extra teaching support.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it feels good to have this, which I'm sure everybody else here knows, like social media is really helping a lot of us with our friendships right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next up. So you as a group panel, you have quite a few followers. I did some math earlier, and as a group, the 5 of you have more than 344,707 followers. So tell us what we can't see. Who are these people? Because I know some people are like, why would I go on Instagram? Why would I go on YouTube? There's no teachers there, or that's not for me. And they just kind of blow it off. But tell me, like, you can see the people behind your numbers. So tell us, who are they? Are they teachers? Are they students? Who is watching you in those 8.36 million YouTube viewers and all those followers on Instagram? Tell us the secrets.
I did a little bit of research on this recently for a book chapter that a friend and I wrote, and she's a professor in North Carolina. And so she did a lot of academic research just looking at teacher Twitter versus teacher Instagram, because she wanted to understand why teacher Instagram was so effective and so powerful. And she found that as a whole, teacher Instagram is much younger, much more diverse ethnically, and much more diverse in their education levels. So it does seem like on certain platforms, it's a lot of experts speaking with experts, but on Instagram and YouTube, the platforms are a little bit more democratic and a little bit more accessible, and more people are just able to share content freely. So that's one thing that we saw through the research.
I would say like the vast majority of the people that are following me on either platform, most of them are teachers, most of them are female, and most of them are coming from somewhere in the United States. But I always find it really interesting when I get people that have nothing to do with education, who are just very like interested in the process of teaching. And so I think for me, like when I hear those people or those people chime in, that's probably one of the more rewarding things for me, because I do feel like maybe someone who has a misconception of like what teachers do, the workload, or what's going into a lesson, now can see like the backstory of what goes into creating a lesson, or having a parent say like, I had no idea. And so it's kind of like that, you know, until your family member comes in to volunteer in your classroom, they have like no clue just how involved teaching is. And so it's a way for us to show any and everybody really what it's like, and from different parts of the world, because we all have like random people that are saying, hey, I'm from Croatia, or I'm in Greece, and I just want to see the American system versus what we're doing here too. So I know that's what I've discovered looking at my channel.
And the other really cool thing too is there's so many student teachers or people who are in college who are wanting to become teachers, who are already like proactively like on Instagram looking at ideas, connecting with teachers. And so I think that's been a really cool thing too, just knowing that this is around for them. Because when I did my student teaching, you know, when I was going through all that, teacher blogs were just kind of starting to happen. But it's so cool that all these people who are becoming teachers have access to Instagram and everything that it has to offer.
We've definitely carved out a little teacher niche on YouTube and on Instagram, and you know, there's a niche on Twitter as well that's just teachers talking to other teachers. I'm real big with the 4th grade to 8th grade kids in Irvine though.
I think with YouTube, like even my kids, I teach 2nd grade, and even sometimes my kids are like, wait, you have a family and like you go home? And I think sometimes people on YouTube see us and they're like, oh, teachers are real people. Like, I have a lot of kids who will hop onto videos and they're like totally amazed at things, and it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I love that well-rounded part of it, and I love feeling connected to other people too, because when you read something in a book, it's much different than if someone's like doing work and parenting or doing their hobbies and everything else. So everybody's getting a really good perspective. Now, if we take, so people who are younger are tuning into our platforms, and how do you see that influencing education? Like currently, how are Instagram and YouTube affecting education? And then also, if you want to go into it, how do you see that like looking future forward in education?
I think it helps with younger teachers, just to know that, you know, you may be a younger teacher, you may be new and you may be struggling, but so is a teacher that's in year 15. You know what I mean? Like, so one of the biggest videos that I put out is just saying that 1st year teachers are extinct. And the premise was that stress level that's typically associated with the 1st year teacher really kind of sticks with you throughout your profession if you're constantly trying to evolve and like figure out better ways and be more effective. So I think it's a good thing for young teachers to see that that's just the nature of the profession if you're really invested in the profession. It's rare that you're going to get to a place where you're now just like coasting and everything is easy. Things might become habitual, but I would never say that there's yet to be a year in my 15 years where I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm just coasting now at this point, because something's always changing. And I think social media makes it always change. So just when I thought I'm doing something really well, now Darin showed me this new tech piece, and I'm like, well, now I got to find a way to use that in my classroom. So I think that's one of the benefits of it as well. And I think it does serve older teachers who have found their way on Instagram somehow to see, okay, let me try and test the waters here, or Latonya's doing it and she's not in her 20s, so maybe I can do it. So I think there's that to it as well.
You're not in your 20s?
No.
I thought this was a 20s only panel.
Jeez. What are we doing here?
Anybody else want to talk about how it's influencing?
I think in our like student teaching programs and credential programs, one thing that I always heard was like that the best way to become better at your craft is to go observe other teachers. And that's just not really possible very much when you are actually teaching, because you have to be in your own classroom. And so this just provides such an easy way to go get a peek into somebody else's classroom, whether that's on YouTube when they're showing you how they set up their sub plans and, you know, effective ways to make sure that every kid is being reached with this content, or if they're just showing you like some strategies for engagement on Instagram, you're able to see that without having to leave your own classroom. And you can do that on your own time. You don't have to go sit through a long PD or go to a conference. You can just intake a little bit every day, maybe after work, just get a few new ideas.
And really for me, like that was why I started my channel. Like that year where I documented every contract year, or contract day, I should say, was kind of like what Molly said. Like, I just thought, had I been in my credential program and I could like physically see what it really looks like to go from the beginning to the end and the highs and the lows, that would have just been such a huge resource. So when I picked up the camera the first day, I did not have any intentions of saying, I'm going to make this as appealing to the eye and as positive as possible. It was really like, I'm just going to tell you where I'm at on that day and what I'm doing, so that you have a true picture of the entire school year. And so my hope is that young teachers see that and either realize, okay, I have the fortitude to do that, or I don't have the fortitude to do that. Let me think about something else, you know? So I think that is also a good piece and a good way to use social media.
That's a good point. There's a lot of people that get into education and realize they hate it. And end up quitting after, you know, a year or two. And I think being able to see that kind of beforehand could also give them a good glimpse of whether or not that's something that they even want to do.
Yeah.
I think that one thing that everybody's sitting at too, what you're all saying too, is that it's really authentic. And so the way that that everybody's influencing education is to like show like this is like a real side of it. And here's what's really going on in our schools, and to help people keep learning from each other. I love the point too about how like they always say to go observe teachers, but like when do we have time to go observe teachers? Oh, I can observe somebody every day by just flipping my phone, which is totally true. I'm going to kind of transition us now into something we're going to go to like some more serious stuff now. So when people are being authentic and talking about things like reflecting on your first year of teaching, or your good days and your bad days, you're really opening yourself up. You're opening up your classrooms, your homes, your families, and your opinions. And some of you on my panel have excellent, strong opinions. So how do you decide what to share? What are your boundaries, and how do you respond to critics?
I will go ahead and jump in on this one. This is something that I think is really important to talk about. And if you're involved in Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, some people really like to be creators, and some people like to be consumers, and some people are just a balance of both. And any of that is fine. But if you do decide to be a creator and a contributor, then you are opening yourself up to criticism. And I receive, daily criticism. I receive a lot of criticism because I open myself up to a lot. One thing that you really have to keep in mind, though, is that you have a mission, or at least I do. I know that everybody on this panel, the reason that you have an Instagram account or a YouTube channel is because you have a mission. You're trying to speak truth and speak life and speak encouragement into the teaching community. And we cannot let, trolls derail that. So if you have a strong mission, no one's going to be able to derail that. And so there are certainly people who will come in who don't understand the community at all, and they will try to tear you down. And Latonya and I love to say, be blocked and be blessed, and just send them on their way, and you don't need those people in your life. Sometimes there are people who are invested in this, and they have questions and criticisms, and you can maybe have a dialogue with them and share resources with them. And then sometimes there are people who are going to criticize you and bring up very valid points, and you need to be willing to maybe change some things if people bring up certain ideas that maybe you hadn't thought about. But there are definitely those people who they have nothing to contribute. They are not putting anything out there either. If you've read Brene Brown, she talks a lot about, if someone's not in the arena with you, do not worry about them. If they're not in the arena, getting beat up a little bit and getting pushed around, they're not somebody you need to take any feedback from.
And I think, like, for those of you that are watching, if you're thinking, I want to start a social media account or I want to get more active on YouTube, one of the things I've said for myself, because I do know for a fact that it is different for me being an older female, a female of color, African American specifically, like, my boundaries are really related to what do I think is important for people to hear. So one of the things, or one of the reasons I started it, is because there were teachers on social media and there were teachers on YouTube, but none of them really looked like me, which meant my perspective may not be out there. And so there are certain things where I feel like it's my responsibility to say, from a Black female's perspective, or even from just a Black person's perspective, please consider this. So case in point, like Dr. Seuss, I want you to hear from a Black person, this is why I don't want any of those books in my classroom, because this is what it makes me feel like, and I'm an adult. So you can hear that and agree and change your course, or you could hear that and say, I disagree, but at least I know you heard it. And at least I know you heard it in a way that I'm not coming at you to attack you, but I'm just giving you a calm, rational reason why you should maybe stop and think about what you're doing. So if it's something that's super important to me like that, then I'll say it and I'll take whatever I get. If it's something where it's just, you don't like my outfit or you don't like my word choice, then I'm okay with that, and we can keep moving past that. But I think whatever you do on social media, you have to have some strong convictions about some things and be willing to say those things and stand up for those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then as far as boundaries too between, like, because my account, obviously all of our accounts have a teaching focus, but I also think it's been really great to be able to share like who we are outside of teaching, because teaching is a huge part of who we all are, but there's more. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a reader, I enjoy exploring San Diego with my kids, and so I also try to share little snippets of that, like who I am outside of my classroom as well. And so I think just creating those boundaries in terms of sharing what I share, like what brings me joy and what brings me happiness, and things that I like to connect with other teachers about, like teachers with kids, teachers who also live in San Diego, things like that. That's kind of how I decide what to share on my account.
Awesome. I'm going to keep us moving, crew. Okay. Now, our next thing is, I'm going to jump us into our next, like, little bit harder question. And honest conversation. I have heard people criticize Instagram teachers for being too pretty or just using these platforms to promote teachers, pay teachers. Full disclosure, I've actually grown a lot in this area too over the years, thanks to many of you. But what would you say to these critics? Because someone's like, I'm not going to get on Instagram, that's just for TPT, or why are these teachers doing TPT, or why does everything have to be pretty? What would you say to these critics? If you had someone in the room with you and they were saying this, how would you respond to that?
Everyone's a critic. Listen, you have a decision to make when you become part of the social media realm, regardless of what platform it is. And that decision is, you can either decide to shine light or to throw shade. And if you are a creator and you are going down the casting shadows road, I can tell you right now, you're going to get filtered out over time, especially in the teacher community, because we like to shine light on each other. And we like, I know on the YouTube side of things, we are only about lifting each other up. There is no teachers on YouTube that are tearing people down. So like, if you are, why would I ever hate on somebody that is working their side hustle to make some money on the side? That's ridiculous. They're teachers, they're sharing what they have. They deserve to get paid for that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. And as far as TPT, or as far as Instagram, like, nobody has ever accused me of being too pretty. I'll tell you that.
I do think Instagram, though, and YouTube, it is a place of content. And I know I personally, whatever I'm drawn to is something that's aesthetically pleasing. And I just feel like that's kind of the nature of Instagram, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. But it is kind of a place where, you do post your more pretty things. And that's just kind of the way it goes. It's nothing, you know, to be bad at, but that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, and adding on to what Vanessa said too, like there's nothing wrong with a pretty picture. And I think the power in Instagram right now is the captions and the stories, those videos that provide that like depth into the picture and, you know, explain like what it's showing, like it's a tutorial, is it explaining a new teaching strategy? And so I think that's where Instagram or YouTube can really go into more depth with the content that is shared. And so, and I think in our discussions too that we talked about is like find the platform that works best for you. If you're drawn to pictures and videos, you know, Instagram, YouTube. If it's Twitter, that's great too, but just find, you know, these social media outlets are out there and there's so many awesome conversations going on. So find one that speaks to you.
I would also say that if your perception of Instagram is that it's only like pretty girls posting, you know, aesthetically pleasing photos, you're not following enough people and you're not following the right people. You should have a mix of people who challenge you. And I can tell you, if you look at my, like, the people that I follow, there is serious work happening on Instagram. There's so much unlearning happening. There is so much conversation about the fact that most teachers, like 85% of the teaching force is middle-class white women, and trying to figure out what that means for our students and for our schools and for our students who do not share that demographic, and for the teachers who also don't share that demographic and are sometimes sidelined and feel like their voice is already small and is made even smaller. So there is so much important, powerful work going on Instagram. And so I don't believe it when people say that that Instagram is like shallow, for example. There's so much important work happening. So follow the right people.
And, you know, also like check yourself. Like if you're criticizing a TPT teacher for making money, I certainly hope you're not making money in some other avenue in relation to teaching. So if you're saying that I should not hear that you're somehow profiting from it as well. And, you know, you are the creator of what you look at. So if you don't like it, you know, then you really don't need to look at it. So, and if we were being paid better, then we maybe wouldn't have teachers pay teachers. So that's a larger issue that we really don't have any control over. And we're just finding means to share what we know, support a life that we need to live to feel comfortable, or to make the money we need to get from day 1 to day 2. So, I mean, I made $40 from Teachers Pay Teachers last year. That is not life-changing for me. Like, so I'm not living the high life, you know, trying to take money from other teachers. And I don't think anybody is really trying to do that. And if I find someone that I think is doing that, then I have the option to unfollow, and I have done that. So you just have to remember that you have that power.
I think a lot of people have produced a lot of content without asking. And I know it's one thing that our group has talked about too, is that there's so much more content instead of just any little products that pop up within there. Excellent point, you guys. I'm going to keep us moving forward, and I'm going to give you guys a really quick, you get like a quick response. And that is, what is your favorite thing about Instagram or YouTube? And then we're going to open up to audience questions. So as you guys are answering, I'm going to start getting ready to get our audience questions ready to go.
All right, I'll start on that.
Go. Got it. Good. Go.
Favorite thing for sure, 100% is just the connections I've made. Some of my best friends I've met through social media. And I just think it's a really powerful way. I started actually Instagram when I was the only 4th grade teacher at my school. And so I was just looking for other teachers to share ideas with and collaborate with. And every day, like I've just built more connections. And so that's definitely number one thing I'm thankful for.
I would go off of Molly. Definitely the relationships that I've built from social media in general, YouTube or Instagram, mostly YouTube, but just meeting all these people in person and having that connection is so cool. I mean, I literally went on vacation with these people. Like, we sat in a car for 4 hours, and like, we are the best of friends, and it just goes to show that you can meet people on the internet and they're not weirdos.
Yeah, for me too, it's definitely my teacher tribe. I love my teacher tribe, and those, you know, Megan, like you said, it's all white women. I'm the one guy in this teacher tribe, but I love them so much.
I think just to make it clear, I think we all mean, and I mean like by connections, there are people that I've never physically met on Instagram or YouTube, but I've known them for years now, just through comments, just through us interacting that way, and just having like, just feeling like the people I can reach out to for questions, advice, or tips has just gone beyond the physical space that I work. And I would also say just the fact that there's always going to be something there that I see on Instagram or YouTube that I know is going to help me in some kind of way or inspire me in some kind of way to be better.
The relationships have been incredible. I mean, I absolutely love that about this social media space. And I would just also say that my favorite thing is just seeing literal change happen, seeing change happen in myself when I reevaluate things that I thought were true about teaching, and then receiving messages from people who I probably will never get a chance to meet, who live all the way across the country, but who say things like, I had never thought about that before. I did not know this information. Thank you so much for sharing it with me in this safe space, where they didn't feel like they were being confronted. They're just seeing this on their Instagram feed, but it's something so powerful that literally changes the way that they teach and those hundreds of students that they're going to teach for the rest of their career. So I just love all the change that's happening on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay. I was over checking our questions. Are we ready to go into the audience questions?
Sure.
Okay, first one up is from Jasmine Simpson. And she says, hi there, new student teacher here. Should I start incorporating social media while I'm in my teacher's program? I start this fall and I want to make sure I take advantage of every opportunity. So what would you tell somebody just getting started?
If she's asking, should she start an account and document that process? I would say yes if your account is private, just because you don't really know where you're going to end up. You don't really know your district's stance on that. But it would be interesting maybe for you to document it on your own, or if not, check with where your student teaching first and see if they have any issue in that regard. As far as trying to integrate it into like lessons that maybe she does during student teaching, I would say do that right away.
Okay, next one is coming from Michelle Fenwick, and it says, do you create your content more for your students or for other educators?
Other educators, not for students.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3. Let's see. Okay, this one's interesting. It says, this isn't exactly a social media question. I think this one is from Elizabeth Jacas. And it says, this isn't exactly a social media question, but how do you find your presence in the classroom? How did you form your identity and voice as an educator?
Oh, it's a really good question.
I didn't think I was going to be a teacher. I chose to teach because I was a high achieving student in a not super diverse area. And so in different ways, it was kind of suggested to me that achieving academically is not necessarily the norm for me or the norm for us. And I didn't have a lot of diverse teachers. So I really just wanted to teach. I wanted to be an example to someone. So I really feel like the way that I teach and everything that I teach is coming from that place, with that in the back of my mind.
That question came from Zoe, by the way. I caught that in the chat over there. The next question is from Trisha Gonzalez, and it says, I'm making YouTube videos for the first time for my students for distance learning. What do you wish you had known when you first started making videos?
I feel like you just kind of grow with it. Like, I feel like anyone looks back at their first video and it's always just a mess. You just kind of grow with it. There's nothing I would want to know beforehand. Like, you learn as you go, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very true.
Next one is, let's see. This is from the Elizabeth Jacas. I think I'm saying your name wrong. It says, what do you recommend upcoming Instagram teachers do to get more followers, and what content would get traffic, and are hashtags important?
Hashtags are important, just because it just drives people to your account. I would just say be careful of starting it. Like, I get you need followers and you need subscribers, but don't make that the driving force of what you post, because you'll get a lot of followers, but they're not going to stick around. They're not going to be engaged. The moment they feel like what you're putting out is not really you, then you'll lose them. So my account is on the smaller end, but I always say the people that have come, they come and they stay, because what they're getting is like Latonya, not what Latonya thinks she should post. So I would say just be very careful with that, and just enjoy like the growth of it. And if it's meant to grow, it will grow in the way that it should grow for you.
Yeah, and adding on to that too, I'd say like share what you're passionate about instead of trying to create something that you think other people will like. Share, what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, what gets you excited about teaching. And then the second point I would say is just like commenting, engaging with others. I think that's a huge part of building the Instagram community, is not just going on and looking at all the pictures, but responding, engaging. If you see an idea you like, oh my gosh, that's such a good idea. But engagement, I think, is a really great way to kind of just build that community that you're looking for. So yeah.
I also just posted a link to a video where I just explain everything about setting up a teacher Instagram and some of the ways to kind of drum up some engagement. And also just like keep in mind that Instagram has changed a lot in the last couple of years, and people who started, I think I started mine like 7 or 8 years ago, and growth was different at that time. So some of the people that you're seeing that have, over like 50,000 followers did a lot of giveaways. They did a lot of, they used a lot of like tools to gain their following, and those tools don't always work anymore. Like the algorithm changes, but who cares? Just post whatever you are passionate about, like Molly said, and just be authentic. And it is useful though, like if you teach 6th grade, to use like hashtag I teach 6th grade, because then other 6th grade teachers can find you, and that's what's relevant to them. So hashtags are more just for finding people who do something similar to you.
Okay, next question up comes from Dr. Ed, who, by the way, gave me some help with the muting earlier, so thank you. And he has a couple questions. He says, I'm curious, what drove you to start your YouTube channel? And then he had a second question I'm going to kind of layer on it. So it's why did you start your channel? And he had another question that says, what produces income are you guys earning any money off of this? So why did you start, and are you earning income off of this? Are you like surpassing your teacher salary? What's going on?
I started my YouTube channel just to kind of show my life as a teacher. I always wanted to kind of be a mixture of my teaching and also kind of my life outside of the classroom, just to show people that teachers do have a passion, and you can also, even younger people, like people or kids always want to be YouTubers and stuff now, and to see that you can have a normal job and share your passion with others, but also be a YouTuber at the same time, I think it's kind of cool for younger people to see. But just to kind of show my life as a teacher, I just thought it would be kind of fun to document it and use it as a way to reflect on my teaching and go back and like record my life, basically.
I learned so much as a brand new teacher. Like the learning curve was so high. And so as I would figure out things, for example, like about like BITSA, all of us in California know what that is. As I realized things that nobody had ever told me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a video about this because I'm sure there are other upcoming teachers who need this information, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I remember at that time I did search YouTube videos with questions because, you know, if I needed to figure out how to change a light bulb, I could go to YouTube. But teaching questions were not there when I first started looking. So if a video wasn't there, I just went ahead and made it. And to answer the money question, views don't really generate all that much income, like the ad revenue. But if brands realize that they like your communication style, because what we do, creating videos and creating posts, is something that brands value very, very, very highly. This is a skill that most people do not have. And so brands appreciate that, and they may approach you and offer to sponsor videos or posts or whatever because they like your style of communication. I've never reached out to any brands to get sponsorships, but if you just continue to do what you do and be authentic, they might reach out to you.
And I will say to that, I think I answered why I started, just to kind of show a real teaching year and add a little diversity to the field. And you don't really have to have the most subscribers to get a company to say, you're the person that we would like to do X. So I know CJ from Row Wrap with the Reynolds and I, a couple years ago, were like the face of this website called Storybird. And there are way more teachers with way more subscriberships. But when I was talking to her, it was just my, like, the style of my communication is what she was looking for. But on a day-to-day basis, like, it's so, the extra income for me is so insignificant that that's really the money that I use to buy clothes. Like, so it's not like I'm making a lot of money, but I'm like, hey, I like to shop. I could use this to buy a new pair of shoes. And it varies from month to month, but I'm nowhere near retiring from teaching because I'm a teacher on YouTube. And like Vanessa said, it is a great tool, especially with middle school kids, because they are very intrigued by the idea, okay, my teacher is teaching, but she's also doing YouTube videos. And as soon as they say, oh, I don't need to study for this test because I'm going to be a YouTuber, then I can go ahead and tell them, like, I'm a YouTuber and I still have to work to pay my bills. So it's been great in that regard too, to just kind of connect with students that way.
We're starting to run a little bit low on time, but we have kind of two questions on here. One's a heavy one I was saving, and then I have one. So people are asking about distance learning and about using, there's been a couple questions about using videos for distance learning or activities during distance learning. So keep that one in the back of your heads. But then the other one I want to hit first, this one was actually requested to hear a nice response from Megan. And it's from Jennifer Winfield, and then Sarah McClendon nominated you to answer it, Megan. And it says, as a middle-class white female teacher, what are some ways for me to learn the perspectives of students I may have who are unlike me? The question was, too cool for middle school should answer that. She's so woke.
That's a really great question. And honestly, I love to hear teachers just kind of tuning their minds to think that way. Like, that is so encouraging to me. Because I don't think that's super common, you guys. I think that that's commendable for you to be like thinking in that way. And so I have a couple of videos about this that I can direct you to, but my kind of motto for myself as a middle-class white woman who is a teacher is to make sure that in my own life, I am always educating myself, cultivating empathy within myself, and exposing myself to new ideas and new cultures. And so I don't want to take up all our time, but I have a YouTube video on this, and you can send me a DM if you're not able to find it, and I will send you the link. And also, please send me a DM with your mailing address, and I will send you a sticker that says that. So send me a message.
Can I just say one thing that relates to that? So I had a conversation with a teacher at my school that basically asked the same question. Like, it's Black History Month. I'm just a white female from Orange County. I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I don't know what to say. So I said, just say that. Like, you know, just say that to your students. Like, you know what, guys, I really want to recognize such and such culture, whatever. And I'm not proposing that I'll say the right thing all the time, but just know that I'm willing to learn and I'm open to that. Because I said, if you don't, and you don't do something out of fear, now you run the risk of the kids interpreting why you never mentioned it. So now you've left the kids up to just decide, well, maybe she's not mentioning it because she really doesn't care, as opposed to hearing you say, I do care, help me through this process. And I've just found that anytime I've done that, because I can only speak from my culture, but I can't speak from other cultures. So I will be the first to say, like, I'm really into learning about your culture as a Korean American, so help me out, let me know. And you will be surprised how just relieved and open a student is to hear you say, I want to recognize you and I want to see you, but I'm not assuming that I know everything, and I need you to help me out with that. So I think just having the willingness and showing that little bit of vulnerability with your students is the hugest thing that you can do.
Okay, I have one more jumping on here, everybody. I know that's like a deep, deep question, but I'm gonna jump us. The last one that I'm gonna take for us, and it kind of goes with everything that's going on right now, and that is about distance learning. As someone who's really active right now, what so a teacher sitting in front of their screen is doing their Zoom or their meet with their students, and it's their first time. What would you tell that teacher to do to help engage their students in the lesson?
I just want to give a shout out to another teacher YouTuber, Fernanda, from That One Happy Classroom. She recently put up quite a few YouTube videos with information about distance learning for elementary school. I've put up quite a few about distance learning for middle school, and then another teacher YouTuber, Marie from The Caffeinated Classroom, also put up quite a few resources for high school. So no matter what level you're at, there is a lot of information on YouTube right now to help you out.
There's also a hashtag on Instagram, isn't it? Teacher Tips COVID-19.
Yes.
Also, there's a hashtag on Instagram going for it too. Someone can drop that in the chat too. By the way, that question was from Nellie Rodriguez. I kind of like reworded it. Yeah, she threw the hashtag down there. Okay, guys, we are about to run out of time. I want to make sure you have our resources list. I'm dropping the link there, and that has all of our accounts. You can go follow everybody and find out what we are all doing. Megan will also if you have any questions for any of us too, all of us actually like really engage in our DMs on Instagram. That's a benefit of Instagram. It's really easy to just message somebody. So if you have questions that weren't answered, please reach out and they will get answered for you. I want to go ahead and say thank you so much to the panelists. It may look like we just popped on, but there were a lot of meetings and things that went on behind the scenes to get this happen, especially since the conference was moved from in real life to virtual. But I'm super stoked because we got to see all of you. If you haven't done so yet, go check that resources document. And thank you so much for Q for hosting this. A special shout out to Mercedes from Q for all of her behind the scenes help and belief in our project. And that's all, everybody. Have a great afternoon and go spend some time with your family and friends and follow everybody on Instagram. Thank you so much, panel. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
Natalie.
Thank you.